Of that 61, we had 7 anomalies, which were lack of updated records. However, if those would have been accepted, we would have reached approximately 70% approval that were in favor of this project. The resolution of intent, which was the first resolution, was passed on in March, and what you have before you tonight is the second resolution. There are 4 resolutions total. The second resolution does require a public hearing, which is what we're about to enter. I do want to note that this second resolution, the language does amend the role from the prior resolution of intent to include the parcel formerly omitted of the Mill Point water system. It was deemed through our legal counsel that parcel should be included, and we simply just needed to amend it in this particular role. It was amended prior to the public notices being distributed as well. So, with that,
I'll move to open the public hearing.
Support. Have a motion to open with support. I don't know if it's not a roll call for it's not a roll call, I don't believe. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Here's kind of how we do the public hearing. If you would please come forward to wherever you're more comfortable. You can either sit down or use the podium. State your name and your address. And we try to give everybody about 3 minutes. There's no strict time frame. And if somebody's already had your comments, you're more than welcome to come forward and say somebody else has already had them. But if there's some things start to get quite repetitive, we just ask that, we don't have to hear it a lot of different times. What will happen is after this, we will close the public hearing. There is a resolution in front of us. We don't necessarily act on that this evening. There are 2 board members that aren't here, so I'm not sure which way the board is going to go, but that would be the next step in the process. So that being said, if there's no comments from the board, I'll open up the public hearing. And again, if you would please come forward, state your name and your address and any concerns that you may have. Just raise your hand and I'll call you up. Yes, sir.
My name is Ken Leselius, Lescelius, 1757 Dartmoor Drive. I don't know a lot about this other than just finding out about it a couple months ago. But is this a competitive bid for the construction or just one company? Does anybody know?
And again, Bob's been our liaison, and he's what I would call the expert with us. So I'm going to refer to him to answer some of the questions that may come along.
The process is a competitive bid. The township engineering consultant will put it out publicly for all interested parties to submit a bid on. They also develop the bid specifications based on the engineering that will be completed for this project.
And how was a 10-year assessment determined? Who decided to make it 10 years?
The township public works policy basically indicates that if a road is not constructed to Livingston County Road Commission standards, the maximum term that we will look to do an assessment would be 7 years. The particular roads within this development would be meeting the Livingston County Road Commission design standards, and the maximum term limit for that assessment would be 10 years.
I have another question. I'm trying to remember what it was.
If you have something that you want to come back up with, you're more than welcome to.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Raise your hand if you'd like to come forward. Yes.
Good evening. I'm Judy Igo, and my husband and I reside at 1606 Andover Boulevard, and that's Igo. And this may not be a valid, something I should be saying here, but first of all, my husband and I did not vote for the new roads, but it's only because we feel that with cobblestone, we cannot get separating them, and they use ours for their building their homes and all that, and all this big big, huge trucks and semis and tandems. So we're just afraid that it's going to just do nothing but tear the road up again. That's our big concern. It would have seemed to us that hopefully we could get something where we wouldn't have all that traffic, but evidently, nothing seems to work. So I just want to say we would have voted for the roads if it weren't for that. It's just going to be more traffic now. They speed. It's not safe for children because they speed through the stop signs. And when those holes are patched or we get the new road, it's only going to bring more traffic, I'm sure, and there's 5 more houses, I think, that could be built in cobblestone. We're seeing it right now, the tandems, and it just goes on and on and on, even after the homes are built. So that's just our concern. So I just wanted to voice that, and I thank you for letting me speak.
Yep, thank you. Good evening.
My name is Art Hunt, H-U-N-T. I live at 1575 Andover. I want to speak in favor of the proposal. Just come down our streets. They are in sore need of repair. We've had several of our own association meetings over the years. We repave them every year, and then we have to repave them the next year, patch them rather. And that's not going to change. They're just getting worse. They have to be redone. In our meetings as well, we've had lots of concerns. No one has come forward and said they have the expertise to undertake the project, to engineer it, to design it, to make sure it's put in properly, and or hold whoever the contractor is accountable. So this seems to be our best hope for getting our roads fixed. It's a 10-year assessment, so it's relatively easy on the pocketbook. We're going to have to spend the money anyway. I'd rather that we did it this way so that you all own this in terms of the oversight, and this gentleman here has been doing his homework and helping us, so I appreciate that. But I hope you will help us move this thing forward so we can get our roads. We're going to have to do something, and again, this seems to be our best hope. And I want to thank you for having this program as an option for us, because otherwise, quite frankly, we don't have any good options for getting our roads fixed. I understand the concerns about the traffic. There have been some methodologies we've been told that we can do, but all that said, I still hope we'll get our roads fixed, because they really come down Andover Road and taste and see how wonderful our roads are. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bob, is Mill Point private roads or are they county roads?
Mill Point is all private roads.
Private roads. Can they put up a no construction sign, vehicle sign?
They have been permitted. They can oversee any of the signage within their development.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Thank you. Jim Kleinfelder, Kleinfelder, 1684 Chelsea Circle. I am on the board of the Mill Point Association and was one of the primary circulators of the petition. And I just want to say that the board had investigated trying to manage this ourselves. We got some quotes, started an engineering process, and it is just way beyond our expertise, and we really appreciate the opportunity the township offers to oversee and manage this project for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Do you have another comment? Mrs. Igo? No. Okay. Sir, did you have another comment?
I just had a question. You're in the second stage of this program. How long would it take to go all the way through to completion where they actually start looking at the roads?
Bob?
Generally speaking, when we start a road project from the first time an association approaches the Public Works Department, we generally give a time frame of 9 months before we can put a shovel in the ground. In this particular instance, a lot of that is the preliminary work, the collection of the signatures. So we are certainly, we're probably halfway through that process right now. The issue that we may run into in this particular circumstance is by the time we this project is green lighted for construction and a contractor has been selected, will be the seasonal challenges. Is it going to be too cold to actually put the asphalt down? We may be approaching the September, October timeframe by the time all the documents are in line, ready to go. If that's the case, historically what we've done is push the project to spring, and the engineers we will weigh in and give our recommendation. We certainly don't want to construct a road that fails prematurely because we tried to get it in before the winter.
That leads me to another question as far as the work being done. Is something asphalt being removed and that a new layer being put down, or how is it being done?
Each road will receive a different, pretty much a different corrective measure. Andover Drive being in the condition it is, they will be removing the asphalt and actually looking for, they've identified certain spots which will require additional undercutting where they dig down deeper and put stone back in to make a solid foundation. Some of the other roads will receive what's called a mill and overlay, and they do what's called a wedge, where they wedge the sides to bring them back up and restore the crown to the proper crown. So it's all depending on the condition of the existing road. It's not one corrective measure for every road surface. You're welcome.
Anybody else this evening to call to the public? Before we close, Bob, could you maybe just explain what the next process is?
Absolutely.
So everybody that's here or watching understands where it goes from this point.
Absolutely. So the next step in the process will be the third resolution. After that, we will have a second public hearing. So the residents may receive, you will receive another notification of a similar public hearing to this. And then the fourth resolution is simply confirming the roll. And that is the legal process for providing the township with the ability to assess your property. And from that point on, the project will begin design phase. They'll go in and do soil borings and engineering work to develop the bid specifications so they can put this project out to bid. And once the project is out to bid, it'll probably be out for 2 to 3 weeks. Once we get them back, we have a public bid opening. It'll be here at the township. We review the figures and provide a recommendation as to what contractor we feel has your best interest in mind. At that point, we have a pre-construction meeting and we go over the township ordinances with regards to what times they can work and noise ordinances and what else may be associated with construction process. Then once the insurance papers are in place and the contract has been approved by the township board, the project will technically be green-lighted.
So just again, for clarification, the resolution that is before us this evening does not necessarily mean that the project is going forward. It's just the first step in the process of the SAD if it were to go forward.
Technically, it's the second resolution of 4 total
This
resolutions.
is the second.
This is the second.
But this still doesn't
Correct.
mean that it's officially going forward.
That is
until
absolutely correct.
the final one is approved.
That is correct.
Okay. If there's no other public comment this evening,
I'd like to move resolution of determination.
let's close the public
Oh, I'm
hearing
sorry.
first.
Move to close the public hearing.
Support.
Motion support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
That's all
interrupt.
right. No, that's fine. I'd like to move resolution of determination to make private road improvements, approval of revised plans and estimate of costs, final determination of special assessment district, and preparation of special assessment roll.
Support.
Motion by Treasurer Horning, second by Trustee Harper. Is there any other discussion? Being none, I'll have the clerk please call the roll.
Supervisor Fountain?
Yes.
Trustee Harper?
Yes.
Clerk Schofield, yes. Trustee Germain, absent. Treasurer Horning?
Yes.
Trustee Petruzzi? Yes. Trustee Collier, absent.
Thank you. And thanks for everybody that came this evening. Again, you'll be notified when the next public hearing or other information comes available. Thank you. Next is, we have an applicant for conceptual review, site plan number 535, Newberry Place, mixed use. Good evening. Sir, could you please state your name for us?
Absolutely. My name is Jeff Greeneisen with Rescue LLC. Unfortunately, Bob Schroeder with Mayberry was unable to attend tonight, so he asked me to step in as representative of the team.
This is an amendment to their previous conceptual plan.
Correct.
This did go to the Planning Commission last Thursday. They did have some comments, but I think I will, at this point, Jeff, I'll let you kind of give the history of where you are and maybe some of the reasoning behind your thought process, and then I can open it up to board for any comments that they may have.
Great. Unfortunately, I was not at the Planning Commission meeting, so I don't have the input from that meeting. But this has been a long project even to this date, and some of the revisions are geared from public input and in a response to try and take community concerns into effect, thus moving some of the high-density product from the north side to the south side, creating more single-family residential on the north side. This is the south side consideration. Some of the commercial along M59 has been rethought, and the apartment product is primarily grouped together at this point on the south side of M59. That was in an effort to create less density on the north side and to consolidate the apartments as one component, primarily from input from an operator that we've been talking to. Had some concerns having split apartment projects across M59. If people are going to the clubhouse and pool, you don't want them walking across the street. So it was an operational as well as some safety input that drove the change. But at this point, this is a conceptual concept. Kind of, this is the direction we're going in, and just like to have some input and concerns, questions that.
James, you can't get that all on both sides on one screen with both sides of the road.
Not quite.
Not quite it.
But, or might be able to play around with it.
I do like the apartment complex on one side. I know that this is still conceptual, and it's a little bit different on the south side now where you have some of the housing stock right on 59. There was some idea of that being commercial. By the way, this concept goes back to 1999.
Yes.
So it has been around for a few years. And it was, I think you're using a lot of the pattern book that was part of the original scope, that it was going to be a mixed-use facility. On the north side, the plan that we had was a little bit, I don't know if it was a little bit more basic than this. And I think this one just came out maybe on Monday. But can you explain just a little bit what that commercial might look like on the north side? Is that still a senior care facility proposed on the front?
Yes, it is.
And then what would be the thought process on that commercial to the east?
I think it is the product itself may change and shift a little bit. It is not identified as of yet, so it's really just placeholding on square footage of buildings that probably would work at this location as well as on the site. Mm-hmm. So the operators have not been identified.
And which is like a lot of PDs, it's identified as small footprint retail, commercial office type uses, the same as the southwest corner, with the possibility or likelihood of a gas station or and car wash at least on one of those corners.
Either the north or the south?
Yeah, I don't think there's been a firm both sides at this point, just at least one. And so if you recall the last iteration, so this is a quasi-conceptual, as the three phases of a PD go, conceptual, preliminary, and final. They've already come to you with conceptual. Now with these changes, we're just redoing the conceptual, so to speak. Again, this is the stage at which you have questions, concerns, feedback for the applicant, input, so that when they put together the most detailed designs that you do at the preliminary PD step, that input can be incorporated as much as possible, and there's less changes involved. This would be the time for it. There's no formal approval tonight. It's just conversation and comments. If you'll recall, the north side did have quite a bit of the multifamily housing, and now that is all being pushed to the south side, which makes this less dense on the residential piece to the north, which does abut other residences along Fenton and off of Deer Path behind it.
I know it's really conceptual, but I think with that many housing and that large amount of population, it would be awesome to encourage a restaurant or something to go in there for people to walk to. I think it's going to be would thrive down there.
And I think that would be something I would be looking for as well, is the walkability for those folks on both sides of the road to be able to access via bicycle or walking, access to that commercial that would be right in their backyard.
Yep. I would agree with that.
Can you, James, and the one on the left, is that the north side proposed?
This is north side, yes.
And where is Fenton Road on that? Is it on
right
that side?
here.
And it was my understanding that there was some discussion with MDOT about access on that. Does that show up on this at all, or?
It appears they're showing a curb cut, but do you know the final resolution, Jeff?
I don't know.
I believe there was discussion that a curb cut may not be possible there.
That's what I was just curious as to if that was.
So I don't know where that ended, because they're showing a second curb cut on 59 now. I think they may be intending to eliminate this one. The difficulty is the sight distances there and the queuing of traffic coming off 59. They're opposing each other, basically. The further you push that driveway north, the more the hill gets in the way of a safe turn. But the closer you move that to 59, the more stacking and backing up to 59 left turners may have. So,
I had thought in the Planning Commission write-up that was eliminated because of sight distance. It wouldn't work, and that they were thinking about using the entrance to the gas station there as like a secondary entrance.
Yeah.
But they were going to eliminate that entrance from Fenton Road. Was the clubhouse something new that wasn't in the original plan?
It was not in the original plan, correct. That again is operator recommendations. With this number of luxury apartment and multifamily product, you really need to have amenities. So I don't think it has been thought out, but it's being discussed at this time.
Are you dealing with the same developer that the original plan had for these projects?
This is an operator that is going to own and operate, and ownership. I'm not sure what the ownership is yet.
it's a different one than they had originally talked about. It is different.
And are these units, are they eightplexes? Are they, I mean, I don't have an elevation. Can you just give us a little detail what the thought process is on the apartments themselves?
I wish I had some elevations to provide. These are...
It looked like 10 garages. I could be off on that.
Right.
And our Planning Commission liaison, Joe Kalani, he's not here this evening. He would have been able to answer some of these questions as well, since he was at the Planning Commission level. So I apologize, I don't have all the answers here myself.
I had gotten the feedback that overall it was a positive. conceptual with the Planning Commission. They did provide some comments, and certainly that's what we're looking for tonight as well.
Glenn, do you have any comments? Joe?
Because you had gone through a lot of scrutiny with the MDOT, and now you've changed from one side to the other, are you going to have to do that again?
I don't believe so. I don't. These would not be. I do not believe that these changes would be considered if we had to go through MDOT again. That was kind of a lengthy process.
It was.
Yeah, we had inquired about that. We didn't sound like necessarily that would change all that much. I just noted something else that I know MDOT had already. So I think this didn't necessarily take into account all the MDOT issues. This turn here off on the south side off 59, MDOT wanted to eliminate that left turn immediately after turning in the drive because, again, of stacking back onto 59 for left turners that if there's a queue here. So I think some of those things still have to be incorporated in a future plan.
Larry, did you have any other questions?
And I believe
No,
they...
there are issues to the new plan that I don't like versus the old plan, because I did like on the south side, I like the stretch of commercial down the M59 corridor, which you're taking basically all, like 9 or 10 of those commercial units out, just the apartments, are going to come up to the road. And there seems to be a lot less open space on the south side. The original plan was very attractive to me in that the boulevard came into a open area with a gazebo that was a park area, which has been eliminated in the new plan. And there's not a lot of open space on the south side for any of that type of park stuff. But, those are just my comments, my personal preferences.
And because of the nature of the original drawings we had for this packet, the staff was not able to review those. They'll do those calculations continually through the review of the percent of open space to the ordinance versus what allowances could be made. That could be an issue that comes up.
They have to meet their minimal requirements.
Another element is the connectivity between the neighboring properties. Originally, the property to the west, roughly 40 acres, that there was a pattern book that connected these two developments, and I see that you don't have that, like that ended there. Perhaps in the future, if there was an opportunity for that interconnectivity in this development, I think that was something that we looked at pretty strongly years ago. I think that was even along the front, wasn't it, James? Do you recall what that was?
Yeah, with the mixed use up front, probably. There was probably 2 connection points.
Right. Kathy, do you have any questions?
I do agree with Larry, though, about it would be nice to see the commercial all on 59 instead of, is that a front or even the back of an apartment facing right on 59?
And that was one of in the original plan, I had always liked the fact that there were various types of residents on both sides, where you had multifamily and single family on both sides. I thought that broke up the plan very nicely. I don't understand, and I don't claim to understand the business part of putting all of the multifamily on one side. But again, I thought the attractiveness of the existing plan was that breakup of not having just all apartments in one area. So.
And that's something that I like. I like the fact that all the apartments are on one side. So,
Just an opinion.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board this evening? I think we're all set. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Item number 9 is 2017-18 Township Hall and Grounds Maintenance Contract. Mr. West?
Good evening.
Good evening.
As a follow-up to last year's 2016 Township Hall and Grounds Maintenance Contract, Public Works solicited quotations for the services provided for the Township Hall and Grounds maintenance and the M59 medians. We actually created a bid package and submitted it out to 4 companies capable of administering a project of this size. Of those 4 companies that we solicited, only 2 responses were received. And of the 2, you can see the base bid in the bid tab. Brian Services out of Milford was the lowest bidder. However, Public Works is officially recommending the award go to Horizon Landscape. Horizon has consistently performed extremely great work for the township. They're very responsive because they are local. The township is, or the business is based within the township, and the cost difference in the base bid is approximately $1,450 between the 2. Horizon Landscape has donated a lot of time to the Public Works activities, including the 2 Michigan Go Green tree grants that we received. Horizon donated their time and equipment to plant those trees for the township. Horizon Landscape has also been very involved in the M59 median project over the last couple of years, and Horizon consistently donates equipment and labor for the Hartland Township Large Item Cleanup Day. It would be he provides essential equipment, including loaders and backhoe for loading the dumpsters. It's obvious he's very dedicated to this community. He takes a lot of pride in his work, and again, he's very responsive. And for those reasons, although he's not the lowest bidder, I am suggesting or recommending that the 2017 Township Hall and Grounds contract be awarded to Horizon Landscapes.
And for that, board members, we did talk about this, not at length, but we did talk about it at our admin meeting, and that was a recommendation that we came up with as well, is to stay with them. So, any questions for DPW Director, Mr. West? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the 1-year extension of the 2016 Township Hall and Grounds contract with Horizon Landscaping as presented.
Support.
Motion by Clerk Shofu, second by Trustee Harper. Is there any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to board reports. Start with Treasurer Horning.
Nothing this evening.
Trustee Harper.
No report.
Trustee Petrucci.
No report.
Clerk Shofu.
No report.
I have no report this evening. We will take a brief recess, and then we will go into our information and discussion.